Shavua Tov, Agutavoch, and welcome to our program. This coming Wednesday is Vov Menachemov. It is the first Yoel site of Agorna Chosid, the Yoel Khan. The Yoel Khan was the Rebbe's Chayzer, and you see now, in this year, an outpour of thousands of people, an outpour of love, of affection, of Hakol Satev, recognizing the good that the Yoel did, that the Yoel made the connection between, between them, between the Rebbe and them, between them and the Rebbe. The Yoel, they claim, gave them the Rebbe, not necessarily Lubavitchers, those who are within Lubavitch and those who learned Chassidus, and the Yoel was Mekal of them, and gave them a connection with the Rebbe, and gave them the Rebbe. Rabbi Yoel was told, I was told by some, were of the opinion that a Chayzer like Rabbi Yoel never existed before. Yes, there were many Chayzerim who were Chayzer, which means who repeated the words of the Rebbe. But a Chayzer of the caliber of Rabbi Yoel, that never existed before. Now one is going to ask a question, really? Through all the generations? We will return to that in a moment, and we will see that there is something to what they are saying. But first, our customary story. This story was told by a woman, Be'ashgocha Pratis, this week. And she is the daughter-in-law of the Goen Reb Shlomo Freifeld, and her mother-in-law, Reb Shlomo Freifeld's Rebbetzin, Arichos Yomim V'Shonim Tevis, went to the Rebbe. Oh, they're not Lubavitcher Chassidim, but her daughter needed a brocha. She went to doctors, and the doctors more than once said that she can never have children. Rebbetzin Freifeld went to the Rebbe, asked the Rebbe for a brocha, for children, for her son and daughter-in-law. The Rebbe gives her $2. And then she is about to leave. The Rebbe calls her back, and the Rebbe gives her another $3. The Rebbe didn't say anything more. The Rebbe gave her another $3. And she tells the story. After the doctors said that she can never have children, they had 5 children, as the Rebbe gave her mother-in-law $5. Rabbi say, concerning Rabbi Yoel, and those who say that a Chayzer like Rabbi Yoel never existed before. Let's analyze that. A Chayzer is the one who has a very good mind and remembers. He has a very good, what's known in Lashon Kodesh, zikaron. He has a very good memory. Chayzer in Lashon Kodesh means the one who repeats, and he was able to hear what the Rebbe says and repeat what the Rebbe says. But that is a special faculty of having a good memory. As a matter of fact, in the 3 faculties that deal with the intellectual capacity of an individual, and it's known to Lubavitcher Chassidim, Chochma Bina Das, memory is not one of them. And why is that? Memory is not a faculty of understanding, because one only remembers. He doesn't necessarily know what or understand what he remembers. I remember the Rebbe said that there is something called the Gemara, Tzana Mola Safra, which means a bookcase full of Sforim. So the Rebbe said it could also be sometimes. What does a bookcase full of Sforim means? The bookcase, the bookcase doesn't know from the Sforim, and the Sforim don't know from the bookcase. However, the Sforim are now in the bookcase, but these are 2 separate entities. It's allegoric for a person who has a very, very a photographic memory, which means he sees something and then he can remember it. Does he really understand what he sees? He can repeat it. Does he understand it? Not necessarily. Rabbi Yoel's genius was, first of all, was in Zikon, that he remembered what the Rebbe said. But that wasn't everything. That wasn't the real specialty of Rabbi Yoel, that he remembered what the Rebbe said and he was able to repeat what the Rebbe said. There was much more than that. He understood what the Rebbe said. In Chochmon and Binon and Das. Chochmo is the Bolek HaMavlik, the brainstorm. Bino is the individual, is the attention to all the details. Das, it's the way it's applied to other things. The Yoel was a genius in Chochmon and Binon and Das. So it's not that he only remembered what the Rebbe said, and for that matter, he remembered what the Alter Rebbe said. He knew Likutei Torah and Tanya, of course, and all the Sefer Chassidus. He needed something. He wanted to know a source, whether it says in Chassidus something about this and this matter. The place to go to was Rabbi Yoel. The person to go to was Rabbi Yoel, and he knew exactly. So it's not only that he had Azikoden, as mentioned before, that Azikoden is not one of the three faculties of the intellectual ability. That's separate, because those faculties mean that how you understand something, how you transmit it, and so on. So this was, Rabbi said, this was the specialty of Rabbi Yoel. And there are generations. Rabbi Yoel did this for 71 years, from Tafshin Yud until Pei Aleph. For 71 years. Rabbi Yoel was repeating what the Rebbe said and explaining what the Rebbe said and giving to generations of individual the Rebbe. Through Rabbi Yoel, they got the Rebbe, and this is why the outpour of love and affection and Hakol Hasatev is so great for Rabbi Yoel. And we're dedicating, of course, this program to Agon Achosed Rabbi Yoel, Rabbi Lefoil Nachman Hakein. Rabbi say the year was Tafshin Nun Aleph. Nun Aleph 31 years ago. The Farbrengen or the Sicha was Chav Zayin, Elech of Ches, Nisan. And the Rebbe spoke those words that everybody remembers. The Rebbe said, Ich hab alles getan zu bringen Mashiach. I did everything I could to bring Mashiach, and I'm giving it over to you. And after that Sicha, there were many Farbrengens and whatever you want to call it. And Rabbi Yoel was always the Reish Hamdaberim. He explained to everyone. There were those who said, what is the Rebbe saying? These are words we never heard before. I did everything I could. Is he talking about something that we don't want to hear about? Is he talking about, without mentioning details? Rabbi Yoel said the Rebbe is talking about Mashiach. And he's saying in those words to explain to us that he wants us to know that we have to do something about Mashiach. And then Rabbi Yoel asked a question. A Rabbi Yoel style question. The Rebbe said, Ich habe getan alles, was ich kann zu bringen Mashiach. I did everything I could to bring Mashiach. So Rabbi Yoel said these words, I remember it like today. Nu, is was is nicht gekommen. This is the Rebbe himself saying that he did everything he could. If somebody else says, I did everything you could, you never know what it means. Whether that means he ever picked up a phone or not, he did everything I could. But the Rebbe himself said, I did everything I could to bring Mashiach. So the Yoel asks, no, was is nicht gekommen? It's a question that befits someone like Rabbi Yoel. What's happening in this world? The Rebbe did everything he could to bring Mashiach. No, why didn't he come? Of course, it's a rhetorical question, because from that we have to get some conclusions. Moreover, Rabbi Yoel asked, again, Rabbi Yoel style, there's a flip side to that question. The Rebbe said, I did everything I could to bring Mashiach. However, we know that we're still in Golus. He's giving it over to us. So we should bring Mashiach. So Kaviyachol, the Rebbe says that he tried and could not bring Mashiach. So he's going to give it over to us, so we will succeed Kaviyachol where the Rebbe did not. Rabbi Yoel's question, what's happening? How do you reconcile that? How do you understand that? So the conclusion of that was that there is something the Rebbe could do to bring Mashiach, and there's something Kaviyachol the Rebbe could not do. Let's not get scared. What's the reason the Rebbe Kaviyachol cannot do it? And the Biel brought a story that the Rebbe told. I remember when the Rebbe told the story, that there was a tzaddik, not a Chabad Rebbe, a Polish tzaddik. And if you would come to him, and if you would ask him for a broche, for padnose, for children, he would give a broche. If you asked him a broche for Yiddush Shomayim, he wouldn't give. He would say, what do you want from me? The Gemara says, Hakel b'dei Shomayim chutz mi Yiddush Shomayim. You want to be a Yiddush Shomayim? Who doesn't let you? I heard the story talking about that from a wonderful Jew, the Mordechai Berkowitz, who davened in 770 for many years, by the Yom the Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And he told me that the first time the Gaboim asked him to daven by the Yom, and he's a very, very sensitive and Achsidah Sharid, L'arichos Yomim V'shonim Tevis. He was hesitant whether he should accept what the Gaboim are asking him to do, whether he should accept the offer. So he went to his mashpia. His mashpia was a guy in a chosed, the Menachem Zeva Levi Gringlas, the legendary mashpia in Montreal. And he said to Rabbi Gringlas, they're asking him to be the chazan. He doesn't know it. And so Shulchan Aruch, the chazan has to do tshuva. So Rabbi Gringlas, in his characteristic way, said to him, so, who doesn't let you? Said the chazan has to do tshuva, so do tshuva. Who doesn't let you? What did you come to me for? And then, and just to soften it, Rav Gringlas in his unique way said, it's a free country, you can do tshuva. What is the depth of that? Come to a mashpia and say, what should I do? It says on Shulchan Aruch. So the mashpia says Shulchan Aruch to do tshuva. So what do you want? So do that. Hakel b'dei Shomayim chutz mi Yiddush Shomayim. So Kaviyachol the Rebbe did everything he could to bring Mashiach closer. The Rebbe prepared the world for the coming of Mashiach, which means the Rebbe made sure that there is enough Teirah and mitzvahs and maisim tevim and good deeds in the Mashiach bank, so that the world is ready for Mashiach. Now there's only one more aspect, and that is up to us. That we have to want to get out of Golus. And want, the way that the Yoel understood it, is not just saying, we want Mashiach now. The Rebbe even said that even if you say, we want Mashiach now, we only, because we're asked to say, we say it. It should have a real meaning. It should permeate the entire being of the individual. Like the halacha is, and the Rebbe brings that you have to pay the workers every day when they worked. And you are not allowed to leave it for tomorrow morning. You have to pay the workers at the end of the day. The halacha is, however, that the worker has to demand his pay. He has to say, I need to get paid today. If he doesn't demand it, that means that he doesn't care. Then you give it to him tomorrow or the day after. Since he's not asking for it, he can wait. Now, generally, the day laborer, the one who works during the day, and he works for a living, he's not a fancy person. He's not a banker. He is a simple day laborer. And he worked hard the whole day. And at the end he comes to the boss and he says, boss, I need to get paid. And the boss starts telling him a story. Please understand, business is not so good. There is a recession, without going into the details, whose fault it is. There's COVID, there are all kinds of problems. My business is not doing well. And the worker says to him, boss, I want to tell you something. I'm not running your business. You are running the business. You took me as a worker. I worked the whole day. I need the money. I need the money to support my wife and children. And boss, I want the money right now. Then you have to give it to him. And if not, you're Ava. It's a biblical commandment. If one who doesn't do it is violating a biblical commandment. And however, he has to ask for it the real way, like he really needs it. He needs it because he has to feed his wife and children today. And this is the idea of Moshiach. This is how strong we need it. It's part of our life. It's negated to our life. It's negated to our wife and children. It's negated to our family. That's how strongly we have to want Mashiach. And that's what the Rebbe explains, and that's the way the Yoel understood it. That there should be mitanemes. And the Yoel was known to be a real chassid. He didn't go for the malum. The Yoel was real. Was a real chassid. And the Yoel explained, and everyone may have an explanation, but that was his explanation that at that time it made, unfortunately, it still makes sense. Yes, as time goes on, we want Mashiach more. But the Yoel said we have to really, really want Mashiach. And those who knew the Yoel wanted Mashiach. And you're talking about those who were missing the Rebbe. The one who was missing the Rebbe most was the Yoel. No one missed the Rebbe more than the Yoel missed the Rebbe. Now there's also a question. The Yoel would explain something better than anyone else. The Yoel was able to take the deepest concept, the most profound, difficult concept of Hasidus and explain it to everyone. Where did he get that power of explanation, that power of expression that very few people possess? And the answer is a simple one. The Yoel understood it better than anyone else. You can't explain something to someone else unless you understand it very well. And if you don't really understand the depth of it and the ramifications of it, you cannot explain to someone else. The more you understand, the better you can explain it. The Yoel explained it better than anyone else. You know why? Because he understood it better than anyone else. And what he explained is something that he understood. And this is why he was able to explain all of those difficult concepts, deep concepts in Chassidus, because he understood them so very well. And not only that, he had a special gift. Whoever walked over to him, and the Yoel immediately was able to figure out how he should explain it to this individual, and what would it take for this individual to understand it. That again is a genius that the Yoel possessed. This chush to understand, and how are we going to understand, which way we're going to understand. And sometimes the Yoel started slow, because the person who asked the question was not up to understanding at this moment the answer. So therefore we have to start someplace, and the Yoel knew exactly where to start from. He once told me that you learn with somebody Tanya. So everybody says, you learn Tanya, where are you going to start? Are you going to start Pelik at the first Pelik? I remember the Yoel saying, with some people you start Pelik Yud Ches. Now I'm not saying that. Well, the Yoel understood there are some people that you have to learn first Yud Ches, because that's what they will be able to understand. And the Yoel was a master at that, to understand exactly how to explain and which avenue to use to get to the depth of the understanding of the individual, that you can go more and more and more. So on Wednesday is the Yoel's Yahrzeit, and the message, no one wanted the Rebbe more, missed the Rebbe more than the Yoel, and no one wanted Mashiach more than the Yoel. The Yoel really, really wanted Mashiach. And the message of the Yoel to everyone is, we should copy a page, not that easy, out of the book of the Yoel, as to what a chassid is, as to what a mekusher is, and what does it mean to want Mashiach and prepare ourselves and the world for that great day of the coming of Mashiach. The Rebbe told us so many times that we are the last generation of Golus, the first generation of Geula. And the Rebbe himself did everything to bring Mashiach. But there's also a little bit that the Rebbe left for us, and that we have to do, and no one else can do this for us, that we should really, really want to get out of Golus. Looks now, Rabbi say, that we're getting there with everything that is happening. And this should happen speedily in our very, very own days. ובעגולו דידרנו ושמחו ובטוב לבוב ובטבע הנילה והניגלו למטה מעשור הטפוחים ובחסד וברחמים ותקף ומיד ממש.